Starting them up the strooms. Start them up the strooms. Starting them up the strooms. What is up, ladies and gentlemen, twerkers, jerkers, and lurkers, witches, liches, and bitches? It is time once again for another edition of Johnston Blackhorse Do's the Drawings with your host, me, Johnston Blackhorse, the one and only, and I'm here to do them motherfuck drawings. And there's my lovely moderator with me as always, Melody, calling me a nerd. Nerd! Nerd! Oh man, it's been a while. I have to admit, it has been a while since I've streamed. I feel like it's been too long, but the factors that play into that is just the schooling. This is my last semester, and it's probably one of the hardest courses I've had to deal with, besides math. Oh my god, math was such a fucking pain in the ass. But this semester, I'm dealing with networking, and it's way more complex than some of the other stuff that I've... Oh shit! Thank you, thank you, love. My darling, sweet Melody, sending me money. Very much appreciated, darling. But what was I saying? Oh, yeah, my schooling. Like I'm doing like networking this semester, and oh my god, compared to programming, compared to like fucking hardware, compared to like web development, or like web page design, like networking is just fucking, oh my god, it's so fucking tedious. Oh hey, what's up, Iso? Melody says, you're lucky you caught me in a drunk mood. Oh, thank my lucky stars. I just gotta start streaming when Melody's just so drunk that she starts dropping money on me. Well, thank you, love. Thank you. I didn't mean for you to like post me any money, because you've already paid for like another commission here that I'm gonna be working on in a little bit. Iso says, been learning to use iOS. I don't know what iOS is. But we just started learning like IP addresses, like and the binary system behind that, and MAC addresses. We covered like stuff like cabling and modems and routers and such, but it's just like a whole lot of stuff that goes into networking, and I am just so not into it. Like networking isn't my bag, baby. I'm more into like the whole programming and web development. Like that stuff really gets me going. Like it's cool to just like punch in some code and like run a program and see your like program just actually run. But as far as networking goes, like, oh god, it's just so much that goes into it, especially like if you're needing to like wire and network like a whole building. It's like, no man, fuck that. That's not for me, man. I just wanna design websites and learn how to code stuff, and just no. And oh my god, like the quizzes for like networking are just so fucking ridiculous. They're almost as bad as the quizzes I would get in math. And let me just start working on stuff as I'm as I'm griping about things. But the quiz, one of the recent quizzes I got for like networking is just so finicky. Like one of the questions was like I was taking notes throughout the quiz. They like show you examples and stuff, and then they quiz you on it. And so I'm doing that, and I'm taking notes, and like one of the questions was like, how many ports was open for like this example? And when I look back at my notes, it says like, oh, like zero ports were open for that. So I put 0. And then when I finished the quiz, I got that question wrong. It's like, oh no, your answer was wrong. The correct answer was none. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like I put zero. Like, isn't zero like equivalent to none? Aren't they like interchangeable? Like zero and none. Like I went back into the example and it says like 0 ports were open. So I put zero. But no, the correct answer was none. Like, fucking give me a break, man. Oh my god. So with these quests, these quizzes, with these quizzes being so finicky, it's just kind of frustrating when it's just when it's just it does petty shit like that. But at least it's not as bad as the math exams from like my first semester, like from last year. Oh my god. Like you'd get like a math exam or a quiz and it'd be like, okay, this quiz has like 20 questions, and you're thinking, oh, all right, cool, like I'll be able to bang this out in an hour. But then as you get into it, a lot of the questions you find have like 5-part questions, or like there's 5 parts to this one question, and you have to get all of them correct in order to get that one question right. And there were like so many of them, so like a 20 question quiz can easily turn into like 5 times 20, like like 100 question quiz. Of course, like I'm being like a little what's the word, superfluous in that example, because like not all of the questions were like 5-parters. Like say like out of 20 questions there would be 10 to 15 questions that were like 5-parters, and you would only have like an hour window for this one quiz. And there was like two of the quizzes where I just fucking ran out of time because there were too many questions like that. Fucking shit, dude. But at least the quizzes for this one aren't as extreme as that, but they're just kind of a little petty. Like, oh nope, you're wrong. Your answer of 0 was wrong. The answer wasn't 0. It was none. But those are interchangeable. Fucking hell. He just says Cisco iOS is the, oh yeah, the operating system and routers and switches. Okay, yeah. I think we covered that a little bit, but I'm just so not into networking that I'll just kind of like gloss over things and just like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, sure, whatever the lesson says, man, because I'm I'm totally tuned out of it. Melly says it sounds like grand scale bollocksy bullshit. Yeah, it is. Like some of these quizzes, yeah, that's what it that's what I learned to use when I did networking in school. Ah, the Cisco iOS. Yeah, we covered a little bit of the Cisco. I want to say lexicon, but I don't think that's correct. The Cisco, like Cisco terminology and diagrams for their well, that how the whole like network should function. Notice 0 is an illusion. Yeah, I hate being so fucking dumb sometimes. Oh, me too. Some users join the chat. What's up, man? You doing Cisco stuff? Not entirely. I think I'm sort of covering Cisco stuff, but I think, well, I guess so. I guess when you think about it, like networking and Cisco stuff kind of go hand in hand, since like the Cisco naming and diagramming conventions are used throughout like other networking platforms. I guess it's become like the base. I got to work on my vocabulary. Like it's been a long while since I've exercised it. Because there are like words that pop in my head that I want to use, but I don't know if I'm going to use them correctly. Oh, yeah. Um, well, I guess like the Cisco convention of like naming and diagrams are used throughout, but I guess like the Cisco is just like the basis for all uh, networking terminology. But yeah, I guess you could say that. I'm sort of getting into it, but I am just so not into it. Oh man, I just want to do web design and development. Like, there is no way that I'm gonna like end up like fucking networking like a whole building or whatever, or like get certified or licensed to do something like that because it's something that I'm just not into. And besides that, the other thing that's been keeping me from like doing mini streams lately is just the fucking weather, man. It's like sometimes it's just like fucking way too cold to like do anything like drawing. Usually I have this drawing glove, and this glove does nothing for the cold. So like my drawing hand is freezing at times. And yeah, I could draw with like another glove on top of it, but it's just so cumbersome, especially when some of my like buttons and sliders are touch touch sensitive. And it's hard to like kind of gauge which button I'm about to press when I have a glove on because it's hard to like tell where I am on the keypad. And as for like the scrolling sensors, which are touch sensitive, like I guess it's better if you can have like skin to sensor contact, but with like a bit of fabric in between that, it negates that a little bit. You got to try a little harder. But yeah, sometimes it's just too fucking cold to draw. Almost like today. Like today, I almost decided to like not stream, but then I got it in my head like, you know what? It's been too fucking long. It's not that fucking cold as previous days or weeks. Let me fucking get down to this so that I can possibly, hopefully, maybe get some donations. But now that I got one, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. Thanks for coming by. We'll check you guys later. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'll stay on. Melody says, "Give me some arms, you fucking bunghole." Oh yeah, this is the piece that I'm working on for Melody. A new commission piece. I wasn't sure what to have the character do, but I'm gonna have the character like holding like a manga. They're reading a manga. So yeah, we'll get to that. But first, let me just go ahead and like show you guys what I've been working on. I've been working on this one off and on for the past several like weeks. Whenever it gets warm enough for me to actually like be able to draw, or like when I have time away from like doing classwork. Speaking of which, I should get back to that sometime today because I got to make up some hours for my internship. Thankfully, my internship is like running off of like a independent study, so I can go on some of these websites and like learn stuff like coding or web design, and just make like keep records of it so I can submit that. And my my submission for this week is due today. Oh shit, or was it the previous week? Do I submit what I learned last week today? Oh fuck, I think that's how it's supposed to go. I've been doing it wrong this whole fucking time. I gotta check up on that. Holy shit. Or just like fucking stay the course and just keep doing what I'm doing. Maybe I'll just go ahead and do that. Yeah. Alright. Shit. Anyway, let me show you guys what I've been working on. Let me zoom this in a little bit. And then this chick character is gonna start dancing, like just kind of like banging her hips along with the beat. Melody says Static X, push it. Yes. That is the tune. That is the song I'm animating to. Eventually I have to get back to that Tenacious D animation, but I want to do more character sheets to help with the animation storyboarding process. But yeah. Some user says maybe you could draw on paper instead if you need your glove. No, like uh if I use like a full-on glove to like draw paper and pencil, like it'll just smudge everywhere. And also I don't I guess I could get the means to do that. I could cobble together a little setup to draw traditionally, but I am so locked into digital right now that yeah, I don't want to. I don't think I'll mess with traditional medium for a while until I can get more like free time and money. And I'll be so glad when these like fucking this semester is done, so I can have more free time to do so. No, he says, God, I'm freaking good. Right, right out of beer. Time for the whiskey. Oh, there's whiskey times, eh? Somebody just says, or perhaps another one of those sketchbook tours. I used to love watching those while I drew. Um, I have to complete more sketchbooks in order to do a sketchbook tour, and I don't remember where I left off. But there's one, like several sketchbooks I have to like complete before I can do a tour. But I haven't been doing many like real life sketches. It's all just been digital because I just don't have the fucking time. I just don't have the fucking time. Melody says, remember, it's medication. Yes. The skull through this that skull though. Skulls are difficult. Oh yeah? Let's check it out again. Ugh. Fun. Ugh. Melody says, good think you chose something with a sensible BPM, beat per minute. If you chose something like Get to the Gone, you'd be in for a world of animation hurt. Huh. Get to the Gone? Like, is that is that like a song that's on the same album? I don't know like all the titles to all the songs that I have. I'm such a Philistine when it comes to music. Okay, nope. I'm looking, but he's not here. He's not here. I'm not seeing it. I see Push It. I see I'm with Stupid. Blend for Days. Love Dump. I Am. Otsegolation. Otsegolation. Stern. Sweet. Sweat of the Bud. Sweat of the Bud. Fix. Wisconsin Death Trip. The Trance is the Motion. And December. What is this? Oh. This should be on Machine. Oh, I don't have that album. I do not believe I have that album. Yep, I do not. Looking in my Static X folder is just Wisconsin Death Trip. Explicit. Oh, anyway, I should probably put something on in the background. Maybe some spooky stories. Or maybe tell a story of my own. I don't have any stories off the top of my head. How do you rate Johnston's British accent? Or maybe it was Australian. Lottie says, identity, fantasy, heresy, killing me lower than lower before this thing to freed. Hypocrite, lunatic, fanatic, heretic, more and more. You follow your divorced reality. Lottie says, Australian? Wash your mouth out, son. I'm British. Accent was 2 out of 10. Too forced. Yeah, I don't know what accent I was going with. I don't know what accent I was trying to go for. I think I was kind of like just kind of dribbling back and forth between attempting a British accent and then going into like an Aussie accent. I always get like an Aussie accent when I when I was playing Mad Max. I would dip into my Aussie accent all the time. Again, it's like British people trying American accents. We suck donkey schlong at it. Do 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 do. Sweet. Oh, and also like just to let everybody know or let Melody know more so than everyone else. Um I got to go to Monticello on Monday to register the SUV, and the SUV is going to be in my name now, so it'll be completely and totally mine. I have a vehicle, and it's going to be this SUV I've been taking care of this whole time. It is going to be the Escalade that I've been driving, fueling, and just fixing up. I was so proud of myself when I fixed the starter. Oh my god. When I got that going, it was like, fucking yeah! Big pat on my back, I did it! Fuck yeah! Melody says, in my name. What's in your... Oh, yeah. Yeah, in my name. Which means it's pseudo in my name as I'm the pillock that keeps her... Yes. Yeah, but no, like the title and everything, it's all gonna be... It's all gonna be mine. So... Officially on paper, in spirit, right now it's like just been in spirit for the last year or so, but like officially on paper it's gonna belong to me. So that's gonna be pretty cool. I gotta keep fixing it up though, because I think I got to replace the fuel injectors, because my mileage, like, two factors for that. I think it's like my mileage is not where it ought to be, I feel. And every time I kick on the heater, I get this gasoline aroma from the heater. And from what I understand, like like where the heater gets its heat, it's like from the engine itself. And I think my fuel injectors got to be leaking if I'm smelling like fucking gasoline coming from the heater vents. But that's what I assume. That's what I'm reasoning. I'm no mechanic or anything. Melody says you get the benefit of it having a sexy as fuck LS engine. Yeah, I think it's an LS. I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea about vehicles. If my automotive knowledge serves me correct, which it usually does because you're fucking brilliant when it comes to this stuff. You're brilliant at a lot of things, but I am always in amazement of your um, knowledge of machinery. It means you probably need new catalytic converters. Oh man, I think we just replaced those. Like back when the SUV was first broken down, we couldn't get it to run. Like my dad and my brothers like replaced everything, like spark plug cables, the catalytic converter. Um, what else did they replace? I can't remember the totality of like what they tried to replace in order to get it to run. Oh, air sensors. Um, like the stuff to do with the airflow, the filters and sensors. I remember I had to like purchase some of the sensors online, but they replaced a lot of stuff, and all it turned out to be was the fuel pump, and replaced that, and like the thing was up and running again. Somebody just says, "Isn't that the part people steal for the materials?" Yeah, I hear like people stealing like catalytic converters. Oh, they have platinum in them. Jeez, that's I never bothered to find out why people are stealing catalytic converters. But now I know. This is why I run open headers. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds cool. And more noise. Uh-oh. I'm getting a phone call. Hello? Hello? Oh, wasn't this number? You may have gotten like a some sort of like hijacked robot call or something, but it wasn't from. Well, I know I didn't call you. Yeah, like a phone scam or something. Like somehow these scammers are able to hijack numbers in order to try to scam people. And like when you try to call those numbers back, like the scammer numbers, like you'll get like a either like a disconnected number or a number to like a another person's phone or business. But yeah, like I've had like a couple of those, and I've gotten angry at some of the wrong people getting these scam calls because I'll call them back and like saying like just to please remove me from their list, and it's like I'm sorry sir, but we didn't call you. Like this isn't like I'll accuse them of being like whatever. I either insurance, usually insurance firm, either auto insurance or health insurance. I'll accuse them of like being that because that's the phone call I received. But then like, no, sir, this is a like a hair salon or something. It's like, oh shit. And then it was only after that that I heard about like these scammers are like hijacking phone numbers in order to call people. And when you try to call them back, you don't get the scammer anymore. You get the phone number that they hijacked. Usually, like I said, it's like a disconnected number, but sometimes it either goes to an actual person or an actual like business that has nothing to do with the scam. And I guess my phone number is being used, which sucks. Melody said if they have someone like Ahmed or whatever as their name, they called my mother, but she doesn't understand English, so they didn't get far. It's just it's a scam of fucking parasites. Auto insurance, health insurance, sphincter insurance. Oh yeah, I got sphincter insurance. I already have that. But I'm gonna look up this area code. Where does this area code go to? Florida? Weird. I don't know anybody in Florida. Uh-oh, Hershey's up. Hey, Hershey. Hershey, want to go outside? Go outside? Yeah. There we go. I'm afraid I spoiled Hershey. She's so used to sleeping at the foot end of my bed now that I'm afraid that even after it warms up, she's gonna be expecting to just come in. And I said, "Of course you know someone in Florida. He's a dumb cunt with orange skin." Well, I don't know. I don't know anyone personally in Florida. Well, I guess I do, but we don't stay in contact. Ugh. It's too quiet. Oh yeah, like was wondering what I should talk about. Like either put on some stories or tell a story of my own. I've just been going on about like the news, all the recent happenings in my life, why I haven't been streaming as often because it's just so fucking cold, and I got all that schoolwork to do and internship. Anyway, yeah, put on some music if you like. Oh, talk about my animation process. No, he's gonna play something far better than Static X and is actually interesting to play on guitar. Yeah, sounds good. My animation process. I don't really have much of one. It's been so long since I've animated that I'm kind of like adopted a more like go with the flow type of quasi straight ahead animation. Because there's like straight ahead animation and then there's like keyframing animation. Well, like before like keyframing, you do the layout where you get like the um lay of the background and the character interaction with the background, like how the character like you get all the perspective and everything, and then you plot out how the character is going to be moving around in the environment just so it can match the rest of the um, perspective. So you lay out like some like very basic like key positions in that layout, and then you do like the keyframe animations like using those key poses, just a lot of keys. So that's like kind of like the official way of like doing animation, but I'm more of like now that I'm getting back into it, I'm doing more of like a somewhat just straight ahead animation. Usually like when you do like flat out straight ahead animation. You're working on each frame as it comes. You don't even you don't bother planning anything out. You just like start with one frame and then you go into the next frame and you try to like follow the motion that preceded it and have a vague idea of where you want the motion to end up. But with this one, I'm sort of doing that. Like I started off with this pose, and then the next one I drew this pose. Let me get rid of those onions. And then I went to this pose, and this pose. There wasn't much plotting out or planning. And then between these poses, I put this pose and this pose just to start doing the anticipation and in between for the next frame. So this frame here is the anticipation of going into this frame. So it's the anticipation of like leading into the next big movement. And this is the in-between between this pose and this pose. So it's like all in an effort to like get everything to flow together. But again, like I just have like vague idea of where I want the pose to end up. So I do like just like really rough poses to like start off, and then I'll start doing some in-betweens. For those major key poses. And I'm more or less just trying to keep it fairly loose. Just wanting to see like how productive I can be with like each animation. Oh, here's another one I'm working on. I didn't even bother showing off this one. Whoops. Now this is going to be like maybe a showcase piece, like put it in a demo reel or something. And from here, I just wanted to like have an intro of a character and then make him do something wacky, of which I have no idea what I want to make him do. Maybe I'll record some dialogue and have him talking or something. But I want it to be like kind of like lively and vibrant with like a lot of like movement to like for the character to emote through his acting somewhat. But I have no idea what I want the character to do. I just started off with like a little intro scene. So like first off, I just kind of started off with this sketch here. Now, this was like a very base sketch that I went ahead and inked. Looked like a pretty interesting and like a little stylish character, but he does seem like fairly generic. But he's got like this like inking style to him that is like somewhat reminiscent of like a comic strip, sort of like quasi Dennis the Menace um, inking style to him in a way. I just wanted to like sort of like emulate that in like this doodle that I made, and then I just started animating him. And I kind of like started off with some like key like poses. Of course, this was one of the key poses, and then like I drew that one. And then I started drawing like these other key poses. For his little walk. And then just started doing the in-betweens. Now this is like in between that's going to become a key pose because like his arm is at the height of where I want it to be, and it's not done yet. I'm still working on it, and then I'm going to be doing like several more in betweens to get to that point, smooth that position out, and then several more in betweens from this pose to like start bringing that arm back down and get him into this key position here. And it, once I get all the in-betweens in there, it's going to be like really smoothed out. But yeah, this is just something like I'm doing for like just to I need some more demo reel, like more up-to-date demo reel pieces in order to like eventually I want to vie for some studio work, like doing it remotely, but I want to show that I have the skills and productivity and follow through in order to do that. Because I think the big problem I have nowadays is that my work experience, when you see my resume, there is such a huge gap from when I used to be employed from like one of the gaming companies to now. Like right now I call myself self-employed, but there isn't that much work to showcase. And for the companies that I want to get hired by, like an animation studio or something, there's really no animation work from then to now. So I gotta start producing like more animated work in order to like just have studios just see me for like the abilities that I'm able to bring to the table. And when I'm looking for remote studio work, that's my biggest flaw, is that I have no present day work to you know like show off. So like this is what I'm working at. Just claim your works under NDA. No. But yeah, now that it's starting to warm up a bit, I'm going to be like staying up late a lot more, getting up earlier because it's so cold and drafty in this cabin. I have no motivation to like either stay up late or wake up early. Like I'll still go to sleep at like close to midnight, but when it gets so cold, I'm usually just not being productive. I'm just bundling myself up, just trying to stay warm. And then in the mornings, like I'll wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, which is usual for me. So I'll only get like 4 hours of sleep. But at that point, it's like, man, it is too fucking frigid in here. I am not fucking getting up to do anything. It's too cold to be productive. But now that it's warming up, I'm getting up sooner, and I'm trying to like draw and stuff. Eventually, I gotta get back to work on this cabin to finish it up. I got my stove. I got some stovepipe. I got to get the rest of the stovepipe, and then I got to start getting this place ready for the next winter. But yeah, now that it's warming up, I want to be more productive in my artworks. I want to produce more animations. I want to get like a present day demo reel going. And with the recent personal animation projects that I'm working on, I want to be able to put all that in a new up-to-date demo reel and put that on my website and just fucking see what comes of it. Anyway, I think it could use a little more smoothing out, maybe like another pass of in-betweens just to get the fluidity in there some more. I know like the shot between these two could use a little more finesse. So I'll work on that later. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and put on some spooky stories just to fill up the dead air as I'm working on stuff. So yeah, that'll be cool. Let's see which one to go with. Let's go with Russian ghosts. There's some spooky Russian ghost stories that I've listened to like before, like something like a two-dimensional shadow man that'll like drag you into some sort of vortex. It, I don't know, like I don't remember a lot of the details, but somehow it'll like drag you into I can't remember, like it was like a little like hole or something on the ground. Like the shadow being has the ability to grab your shadow, but then in a sense it grabs you and like it'll pull you into this like little vortex, and then it just I don't know, like I remember it was creepy. Anyway, I'm rambling.
Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Okay.
I was born in the US, but moved to the far eastern Primorsky territory in Russia to follow a dream. For more info on that, you can check out my profile. This was my first experience after moving to the motherland. It was February 2012, and I was 19. I'd only been in Russia for the last month or so and was staying at the dacha, vacation home of some distant relative my grandmother had contacted and arranged for me to stay with. The house was pretty traditional, lots of wood carvings, lots of uncleared forest, and this great second uncle, or whatever he was, welcomed me pretty openly. The only strange thing about living with Uncle Mick was the daily steam baths, which everyone gathered for. Hotter than hell and more humid than Florida in the summertime, they could almost make you pass out. I had been working hard to save up enough money to move out, and I found an amazing apartment flat in downtown Vladivostok, near the Russky Island Bridge. They have floodlights illuminating the support cables in the colors of the Russian flag every night. It gave the surrounding area a strange aura all night, which I enjoyed a lot. The building was constructed in 1894 out of red brick, and it was smoky and discolored from over a century of soot, ash, car exhaust, and heavy snow. The inside was amazing, freshly painted lathe and plaster, wood trim and hardwood floors throughout, plus updated electrical, internet, and cable TV. The apartment was heated by hot water radiators, which was going to take some time to learn, but they were free to use. In the basement of the building was a laundry room and a storage area full of old furniture left by prior tenants, and I was welcome to take anything from the stash I wanted. This was lucky since I had nothing of my own that didn't fit in 3 suitcases. I spent the next couple days getting my internet and TV hooked up, taking some furniture piece by piece up from the basement, and trying to lay the apartment out in some functional style. The building had an elevator, which looked like some kind of 1920s retrofit, grafted into the skeleton of the antique building. A massive iron cage with ominous accordion doors, and a skinny cab that clanked and buzzed with electricity as it chugged up and down from floor to floor. An older lady, who lived about 3 apartments down from me, on my floor, stopped in to give me a stern lecture on living in such an old building. I expected her to warn me about the plumbing, or that the hot water took a long time to start flowing. Instead, she told me to mount a cross over every doorway, and the main door in my flat. She also warned me against taking the old monster which she used to describe the old elevator, between midnight and 5 a.m. She claimed that it would malfunction, but only during those hours. It would take you to random floors, or straight to the basement. On occasion, it would even stop between floors and not start working again until exactly 5. She also told me to expect to see a lot of black cats around the building. In Russia, unlike the West, black cats are considered good luck, particularly if one walks up to you without being called, so you see them everywhere. They were also to catch the mice, which she told me were this big, stretching her hands to the size a small dog might be, and laughing hard as if her joke had been worthy of a stand-up gig. That night I went to work at the radio station around 10 p.m. and returned home after 1:30 a.m. Of course, I didn't remember her warning about the elevator and hopped in, taking it up to the 5th floor. The elevator had a lever you had to pull back, light indicators told you which floor you were on, and you had to push the lever back into place to stop at the proper floor. It took a little practice, but I was able to do it with no real difficulty. It worked exactly the way it was supposed to, and I got off on my floor without a second thought. As I walked down the narrow hallway toward my apartment, I had the sensation that I was being watched. I turned, but of course the hallway was empty. I took several more steps, and once again I felt like someone was there. Actually right behind me. I spun around as quickly as possible to try and catch whoever was following me off guard. There was only air. When I turned to resume the walk to my apartment, I was startled to see one of the building's various black cats standing off to one side of the hall. It was staring very intently at something back the way I had come. Whatever it was, it seemed to be pretty captivating. I walked toward the cat, but it was fixated on whatever it was watching, its head low and one paw raised as if it was ready to charge at any moment.
Oh, like, interesting thing about black cats in, like, Navajo belief is that black cats are good to own because evil spooks or spirits are incapable of seeing a black cat. So it's better to own like a black cat than a spotted cat or a white cat for spiritual protection.
It was a little creepy, the sensation I had just experienced, and now this random cat acting as if something was there. At first, I thought it might have been stalking a mouse, and I looked around a bit to see if I could find one. There were no mice. I was curious, and standing here in this cold hallway, watching a cat, watching air was going nowhere. So I whispered hello, but there was nothing. I tried again in Russian, privet. The cat was inching its way toward the spot in the middle of the hallway between where I stood and the elevator doors. A very low growl was starting to escape its little body. The adrenaline started to flow, as I expected something was going to have to happen, the tension building so thickly in the air, the hair on the back of my neck started to stand up. Suddenly, and completely out of nowhere, a very loud thud sound shook the hallway. Literally, you could feel the vibrations through the wood floors. If someone had driven a car into the side of the building, that might have accounted for it. That's how intense it seemed, but the hallway stayed silent. The poor cat freaked, jumped in a wide arc and disappeared down the hallway in the opposite direction. I took a few heavy breaths and tried to calm down a little. My heart was pounding and my ears felt like they were going to explode. I walked to my door, opened it, and immediately saw what had made the noise. Everything that had been sitting on top of the dining table had somehow fallen off. My suitcases and a heavy wooden trunk I had brought up from the basement to use as a coffee table. They were all on the floor, but not right under the table. More like a few feet away, like someone had pushed them off the edge from the opposite side of the table. Also strange was that as loud as the sound had been, not a single neighbor appeared to have noticed. There were no calls and no sounds of people in the hallway looking for a cause of the massive boom. In the morning, I met a few more of my neighbors on the 5th floor. I asked them each if they had heard the noise from the night before, but none of them really seemed interested in talking about it. A polyclinic dentist who lived in the apartment by the stairs recognized that I had an interesting accent when I spoke Russian. I told him I was from the US and he chuckled a bit. In Russia, we understand these things. Unpack your suitcases, ghosts hate travelers. I had been living in my new apartment for just over a month now and it was still almost totally empty. There was plenty of furniture in the basement to choose from, but I was always drained. I had left all my friends and 98% of my family behind when I moved from California to Vladivostok, and I was desperate to make new friends. This meant a lot of clubs, a lot of bars, and plenty of wandering through city parks and department stores which are actually closer to what you might call a mall in the States. Every night I'd get home late and I'd be exhausted. I had barely enough energy to throw some food together and collapse in front of the TV to watch some bizarre Russian adaptation of an 80s or early 90s American sitcom. Seriously, that's a thing in Russia. The apartment had some strange quirks, which I was discovering little by little while I lived there. When I first moved in, I walked through the entire apartment with my iPhone and took video to send back home to my folks. My mother in particular was desperate to know I had found a decent place to live. As I was moving through the apartment, there were definite cold spots, particularly in one of the 2 bedrooms and the main living area. Another strange thing was that both of the apartment's 2 closets were still full of the previous tenants' clothing and shoes. One closet had clothing that appeared to belong to an older man, and the other one, an older woman. These were the only belongings that seemed to have been left behind, and when I asked the apartment manager what I should do with them, his equally odd answer was, "It's your apartment now." I tried to give these items away, but people in the building were completely uninterested. The majority of this stuff ended up meeting its end in the building incinerator chute. It was around this same time that, seemingly from nowhere, the stench began. I actually gave it a name because it became a common enough, though entirely random event for the rest of my time renting that apartment. The smell was overpowering, but nothing too specific. I couldn't say it smelled like death or something rotting because it didn't. It had an odd metallic smell to it for sure, and it could easily make you sick if you stayed around it too long. Beyond that, the odor is beyond my powers of description. At first, I simply assumed the crazy lady who lived down the hall was correct. That the building was infested with huge mice and one had died in my wall or under some appliance. So I moved my refrigerator and oven, emptied and searched my cupboards and cabinets, checked the exhaust duct for the stove vent. I even took apart my sink drain. Nothing. No cause. The other very odd thing about this stench was that it seemed to move around the kitchen area. Most of the time, it was confined to the ceiling area over my refrigerator. I'd sniff it out to that spot, but there were no vents or anything that would allow the smell to come through. Sometimes, however, it would be in the far corner of the kitchen. Or, sometimes in the dining room. It would last a few hours and vanish. After a few days of searching, I did finally contact the building's maintenance guy. He showed up, looked around, but of course, as is typical, there was no trace of the smell. The next day, it returned and was just as strong as ever. I called them back, and once again, the odor was gone. This time, however, I refused to allow the maintenance guy to leave right away. I showed him some corroded fixtures in my shower and asked him to work on that, hoping the smell would return while he happened to be inside my apartment. The smell did return, with a vengeance. An overpowering stench filled the entire kitchen and drove me out. My eyes started watering and my throat began to burn the longer I stood there. I ran to the bathroom and brought the maintenance guy with me, who was at a total loss for words at what he whiffed. He told me he had been working in that same building for almost 15 years and never experienced anything close to what we were now being exposed to. The next day, a contractor was called in and the two of them removed a section of plaster from the kitchen near my refrigerator. The wall was empty, no sign of any dead thing, nor of any mold or other cause for the smell. They removed a section of plaster from the far corner of the kitchen as well, and it was equally fruitless. After patching both walls, he tried dumping industrial-strength cleaner down my drains. I could tell he was grasping at straws, but I too was desperate for some level of relief. So I stayed silent and let them work the problem through a process of elimination. Several days of troubleshooting and the odor did seem to fade on its own. I assumed the relief came about thanks to the efforts of maintenance and their contractor, so I thanked them both and closed the claim. That horrible smell stayed gone for almost 4 months before manifesting itself again. It always seemed to happen that way. Months of nothing, and then about 1 solid week of grotesque on and off stench which would move around the kitchen. Then as quickly as it had come, it was gone. To this day, I have no idea where the smell came from or what was causing it. I've been tempted to contact the new tenants and see if they're going through the same issues, but sometimes I wonder if knowing would really make things better or worse. Dealing with the strange odor in my kitchen and sometimes dining room was an ongoing issue. I tried chemical deodorizers and scented candles, incense, etc. It always seemed to come back. Then, one day, with no more warning than I did when it started. It was over at least for a few months. The smell was gone and I finally had my apartment, all of my apartment, to myself again. It definitely made me wonder about the building, if it was haunted. My family was pretty superstitious growing up, so it wasn't a stretch. My grandfather used to tell me stories as a child about his home growing up and the strange things he and his siblings would see. I was spending less and less time at my apartment anyway, so it wasn't much of a concern. About 3 months passed without incident. Things were going very well at the station, and I was developing a group of friends. I started dating a woman who worked at the office complex across the street from the station, and we'd catch dinner together several times a week. She would be getting off work, and I'd be getting ready to head in for my night shift on the air. I remember the first night she came over to my apartment very well, as it was the first time I heard a strange noise in the middle of the night. We hung out all night, went to a movie, came back to the apartment and ate, then watched some TV before she went home. That night at around 1 a.m., I heard this strange mechanical buzzing or whirring noise. It was very brief, probably only a few seconds, and I probably would have dismissed it as part of a dream if it hadn't started again a few minutes later. A very high-pitched whirring noise that lasted a few seconds, then stopped cold. I laid there in bed with my eyes shut, trying to figure out if the noise was coming from inside my apartment, or maybe a neighbor. While I waited in the dark, eventually I drifted back to sleep. The next night it happened again, a high-pitched whirring noise. It woke me up, but unlike the prior night, it didn't stop right away but kept going, continuously. I pulled myself out of bed and searched the apartment for the sound, finally tracking it to my bathroom. I had a cordless shaver which sat in a charging dock. I have a sort of scruffy beard and goatee, so I don't shave every day. I hadn't shaved a few days prior to this incident actually, so the shaver had simply been sitting there powered off. There it sat now, however, in its cradle, running at full speed. When I saw it, I admit, I stepped back and a shock of WTF went through my mind and down my spine. I rushed over to the shaver, grabbed it up and pushed the power button to turn it off, but it wouldn't power down. It kept running in my hand. I turned on the bathroom light and turned the shaver over in my hands, trying to figure out what was going wrong. I pushed and held power and bashed the button over and over again, trying to make it power down. I tried plugging it in, I tried taking off the blades, eventually resorting to banging the shaver against the edge of the sink. Nothing would work to silence the shaver. Finally, being the patient person I am, I filled the sink with water and dropped the shaver in. No matter how water resistant it was, after a minute or so it was overtaken by the water and finally fell silent. I actually left the shaver floating in that water overnight and made my way back to bed. The next morning, I took the shaver and the charging dock and threw the entire mess into the trash chute. I met Lydia and we went to the local gum, closest thing would be a shopping mall in the States, to buy a new shaver among other things. We returned to my apartment late that afternoon and she asked if she could stay over while I went to the station to do a night shift. We hung out for a while, and eventually I left her there while I went to work. Before I left, however, I set up the new shaver and charging dock in the bathroom so it could begin its initial charge. When I returned around 3 a.m., I was surprised to see Lydia still awake. It seems that at some point in the evening, the shaver had powered on by itself and she couldn't get it to shut off. She ended up putting it in a drawer so it could run until the battery died. I took the shaver from the drawer and powered it on and off several times. It seemed to work normally. Lydia suggested it was defective and I should return it in the morning, but when I told her I had thrown away my other shaver for behaving exactly the same way, she didn't like that answer. Actually, she refused to come back to my place for at least a few weeks. The apartment always seemed to act up around her as well. Light switches, which would work perfectly well for me, would glitch when she tried to turn them on. She'd flip the switch and the light would come on, but then immediately turn back off again. She'd have to flick the switch 4 or 5 times before the light would come on and stay on. I called building maintenance countless times trying to fix it, but the problem would always come back after a few days. She was a trooper though, and she did stick it out, even if the apartment played these little tricks on her. She eventually moved in with me on a part-time basis. The strangest stuff, however, didn't start until after our next-door neighbors moved out of their apartment a couple years later. That was the craziness that eventually made us pack everything and move. Life in Russia was a lot like life in the US. The similarities between the way people spoke, what they said, how they dressed, what they liked to do for fun, was pretty much spot on. There were some odd differences that took way more time to get used to than I was happy about. One time, I went to the corner convenience market to grab some milk for cereal, tea. A relatively simple act. Normally, yes, however not in Russia. It turns out there are 2 kinds of milk, both widely available and usually located right next to each other in any beverage or dairy cooler. Both are called milk or moloko. However, one is Nastelnoy and one is Tortoy. The bottles look pretty much the same, they even both come in whole cream or 1.5%. So I purchased some milk and poured it over my cereal one morning and took a bite. I was instantly greeted with the most sour, curdled, revolting sensation I've ever experienced. My eyes teared up, my nostrils flared, and I had to rush to the sink to expel my breakfast before the floor could greet it first. Nastelnoy is table milk, and that's what people in the US would put in tea or on their cereal. If only I had purchased that. I had bought Tortoy milk, which is intentionally soured with additives such as vinegar. That's right, the Russians love a good sour milk to drink while on the go. The stuff is a little like sour cream, but liquid. Another odd quirk is that the younger generation does not stay put for very long. People in our building were constantly moving in, moving out. They'd find a better flat at a slightly better rate and they were gone. I guess no one ever bothered to calculate the costs associated with moving. I was well into my second year living in Vladivostok. Things were going great. My girlfriend was finally moving into my apartment while we looked for something bigger that we could afford with our new combined income.
Oh, is
Her
it
place
Iso?
was a tiny studio near the factory district,
Iso, is
so
that
it
you?
wasn't really a candidate. The strange phantom odor that seemed to plague the flat still cropped up from time to time, but we soon discovered that incense seemed to drive it away. It also masked the smell quite nicely. Directly next door to me lived an amazing couple who were in their early 30s and who spoke some English.
Melody.
We hung out quite a lot when I wasn't
asking
sleeping
what's on
from
your
my crazy
playlist.
hours. Practically every other night we'd go out as a group to the cinema or shopping districts and spend hours together. 2 months after my girlfriend moved in, they moved out. It was more than a little devastating.
Discord.
They were the perfect neighbors, and although they did shuffle around a lot at night, it was usually just some low, muffled bumping noises. Who knows how loud a new tenant would be? We never got to find out. Shortly after they had completed the process of moving out, we began to notice strange sounds during the middle of the night. The same low, thumping, dragging noises could be heard through the wall from the apartment next door. At first, we thought they might be contractors, working to get the apartment rentable for new tenants. However, the noises seemed to go on all night. I was usually gone until very late at night, and when I did get home, I was so exhausted no amount of thumping through a wall was going to keep me up. My girlfriend was another story, however. She'd toss and turn all night, eventually moving out to the living room to pass out, trying to get as far from the shared wall as she could. We eventually complained to the apartment manager, who took us immediately to the vacant flat. Of course, the place was completely deserted. My first thought was mice or rats. After all, I'd been warned from my first day living there that dog-sized rats were common in the building. Traps were set, and a small digital video camera was placed, the idea being that if a vagrant was breaking in at night, the manager could show it to police. 2 or 3 nights passed, and as usual there were plenty of bumping and dragging noises coming from the apartment next door. Each day we would all enter the apartment and check the traps, nothing. We'd check the camera, and while it did seem to capture some of the noises, there was no indication of where they were coming from. After about a week we'd had enough and finally convinced the apartment manager to give us a copy of the key. We planned to wait until the noises got to their loudest, and run into the apartment to confront whoever was banging around all night. We didn't have to wait long. The noises started at around 8:30 p.m. and got steadily louder. At about 10 p.m. we sneaked into the hallway and unlocked the door, turning the lock very slowly to avoid making too much noise. There was a fire escape, and we were sure that if the occupant was alerted, they'd be gone before we could get there. We swung open the door and flipped on the overhead lights. Nothing. Not a thing. No noises, no movement, no activity at all except for the lone camera on a tripod to one corner of the room. My girlfriend was looking a little ragged, and truth be told I wasn't in great shape either. The lack of sleep was putting incredible pressure on her and, in turn, on me. We actually ended up renting a hotel room for a weekend just to get away, and give my poor girlfriend a chance to sleep through the night. Before going home, we made arrangements to meet up with our friends, the former tenants of the apartment which was causing us so much trouble. We met up at a cafe and went over the entire story from start to finish. By the end, our friends had a look of shock and a little fear in their faces. I still remember exactly what they said next. It was freaky enough to make us pack up that night and go back to the hotel for good.
Those sounds you heard, we know them well, but they were not coming from our apartment. They came from yours. We heard them every night. It kept us awake, and that is why we moved. The walls were too thin.
It took several weeks to terminate our lease at the apartment complex. We only returned to the flat for brief visits to collect belongings, as neither of us had...
Yeah, what's up? No one ain't on. He's saying, mic check, 1, 2. Is this thing on? Wait, is my mic on? My mic looks like it's on. Ugh. Hello? Anybody? Is there anybody out there? Melody hasn't responded. She must be jamming out pretty hard. Oh, there she is. There's my darling love. Okay. Back to the stories then.
Really provided any furniture. That wasn't a big deal. Clothing, electronics, some decorative junk we had collected together to enhance the space was all we needed. While we fought with the apartment manager over our last month's rent, we were staying at a small hotel by the waterfront. It was off-season for tourists, so the prices were reasonable, but still taking their toll as the time we spent there dragged on and on. As the fall season arrived, we were invited up to the dacha summer house of my girlfriend's grandmother. It was in a medium-sized village north of the city and easily reachable by train. We both figured it would be a great escape from the stresses of the city and our prior apartment, so we accepted the invitation, and by the 3rd week in September we were off to Grandma's house. I'd stayed in a dacha before, and they're usually pretty similar. A small wooden cabin or cottage, often with a thatched roof, really intricate carved woodwork, and dense ancient forests sprawling all around. Lydia's grandmother didn't have a dacha, she had a mansion. It was obviously built in the same style, but it was 3 stories tall and had at least 15 rooms. Imagine a log cabin on steroids, with hand-carved posts and massive, beveled glass windows, and you'll have some idea. The first thing I noticed about Babushka was that she loved American music. She talked about it for hours on end. Elvis in particular was one of her favorites. Next was that she likes to flirt with her granddaughter's boyfriend a little too much. She was grabby and spouted off weird innuendos and dirty jokes like no 78-year-old I'd ever met before. The first night we were there in her home, we told her about our experiences in the apartment building. She didn't seem fazed by it, nodding and smiling and agreeing with a lot of our comments. When we had relayed most of the story, she stopped us, pausing to look deeply into the fireplace like she was examining the flames for some deeper meaning.
You know, this house is haunted.
She said to us, I'm not really sure what Lydia was thinking, but I was thinking. What? Why would she say that to us after what we had been through? Babushka began to tell us a story about the weeks just before her husband died. She had a small collapsible tray overloaded in medications necessary to keep her husband alive. The tray was set up near the head of the bed on her side, so she could quickly access them if needed. Often, before she would go to sleep, a figure would come into the room from the door just past the foot of her bed and stop, staring at her. She said the figures were always children and they wore traditional Cossack costumes, probably dating from the late 1800s. 1, 2, sometimes 3 of them would come in standing side by side and cautiously approach the foot of the bed, sometimes stopping and placing their hands on the top of the footboard while they stared intently at her and her husband. She would call out to them, asking what they wanted, how she could help them, but they would never respond. She said the encounter always ended the same way, with her trying to wake her ailing husband, and when she turned back to the foot of the bed, they were gone. One night, they came again, and she was so frustrated and frightened by their regular appearance that she shouted out at them.
Leave me alone. Be gone from here.
She shouted to us while she told the story, gesturing with her hands. The tray, overloaded with medications, then slid across the floor half a meter and came crashing to the ground, pills and bottles flying everywhere. That was the last time she saw the children, and her husband died less than a week later. She had several more stories as well, slowly recounting them as she tended the fire and occasionally took a photo from amongst the many that sit on the shelves around the living room. She would point to one and explain how this relative, or that relative, had returned to speak to her, or how they themselves had witnessed something strange in the dark Siberian forest. She told us about her own brother, Lydia's great-uncle, who had been working for the civil militia in the 1960s guarding train depots. He would come home almost nightly with strange tales of various things he would see while alone in the dark station houses. Phantoms of long-dead passengers, queuing up in line to take their tickets or move across the platform to their train. He would hear the whistles of steam engines that hadn't run for 30 years, hear people whispering, and even said he would suddenly fall ill during his watch. Babushka told us how he would find belongings, artifacts along the train lines. Watches, eyeglasses, rings, lighters. At first he would bring them home, but after a while runs of bad luck would convince him to return the items back to where he had found them. When he had finally been removed from train duty, he had sworn he would never step foot in a depot again. The stories were frightening, mysterious, and even more so the way they were told. I looked around the large living room of her dacha at all the objects on the walls and in the cupboards, dancing in the firelight with large, oversized shadows, and I admit I was terrified. Throughout the 1800s, Siberia was a favored place for the Russian government to send its undesirables such as illegitimate children, even with royal blood, and vagrants. She said once the Trans-Siberian Railroad was completed, the trains ran day and night, carrying poor souls exiled to this region. Lydia interrupted her grandmother, scolding her for making up stories and trying to scare us. Her grandmother just smiled back, fluffing up her blanket and rolling her eyes. Tak Malad, she said a couple times while shaking her head. It was my first real introduction to the dark, Gothic, superstitious way of thinking that most Russians in this part of the world held. Babushka then continued, saying be careful and that the dead are envious of the living, that they will do almost anything they can to feel warm again. The scene was pretty surreal, but so very, very Russian. If I had grown up in this region, I probably would have been taught from an early age about how to ward against evil spirits and phantoms. I would have been told that they were all around me and that every ancient forest throughout the country was a place where they gathered. I was just about sick to my stomach when Lydia's grandmother stopped and stood up, going into the kitchen and returning with a freshly baked pumpkin, stuffed with fruits and nuts.
You want some dessert?
She chuckled as she offered us
If you
some.
can articulate
I wasn't
in
very
proper
hungry, and
soliloquy,
suffice to
people
say,
will just
I didn't
see
sleep well that night.
say you're being
Strangely,
overly
though, Lydia
pedantic.
got an excellent night's sleep. Odd what people can
I
take
guess
comfort in.
so.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
What's up, Concept Summer? Concept Summer says, hello. Yeah, I think I get that issue sometimes, like talking with family
Remember
and
to check out the
locals,
Odyssey
which is
page
why
in
I
the
don't
description for a second archive of the
utilize
channel's
my
videos.
vocabulary as much as I used to. Is sometimes I guess the vocabulary I use is a little beyond some of my family and the locals, so I don't use the the entire like lexicon I used to I used to use back a long while ago. So been a while since I've like had like very deep conversations, and like I feel like my vocabulary's been suffering. So like getting back into some vocabulary would be very beneficial for me, especially if I want to like take over the world. But yeah, that's neither here nor there right now. I gotta focus on getting work done and being productive, and I'll get back into my vocabulary later. Anyway. Oh shit! Concept Sound says I'm playing this shark game called Man Eater. Fucking oh my god, that game's so good, but at the same time, fuck that game. I got this deep phobia of sharks and deep water. I had such a hard time just like fucking playing that game. I mean, just to start off with, when you're playing the mama shark to begin with, I made the mistake of like positioning the shark like facing the camera and hitting the attack button, and the shark just like fucking bit right toward the camera, and it just like fucking flipped me out because god damn, even though I know it's like a digital representation of an actual shark, like the movement and the quick attack and those teeth and the deep freaking maw of the shark when it just fucking lunged at the camera and like bit, it just fucking flipped me out. It's a good game, it was fun, but me having like this shark phobia and like a phobia of deep murky water, it just, oh my god, I couldn't like after playing the game at first, getting used to being a shark, like I got used to it, and like the murky water of the swamp you begin with, like it took me a while to get used to that, but then as you progress and then you get to be a bigger shark, took a little getting used to, but then as you progress further, you go out of the swamplands and then you get into the deep fucking blue dark ocean. Oh my god, like it made my feet tingle. Like I swam out a little bit and like saw the vast expanse of the ocean that you still had to like traverse. I was like, fucking nope. I ducked out of there really fucking quick, and I quit gaming for that night. Took me a while to fucking get back to that venture of like going into the deeper ocean waters. Like, oh my god, it's such a good game, but at the same time, yeah, fuck that game. Oh. Concept Sam says, I like how even though you're a shark, the unknown is still uneasy. Yeah, it makes me wonder if sharks feel that way. I doubt it. Like sharks are such like a mechanical beast. It's like they're not like other aquatic life forms. Like other aquatic life forms have something called a swim bladder, which they can inflate and deflate to control their depth. Sharks don't have that, so they have to keep swimming in order to survive. And they only like I guess they sleep in shallow waters, because if they go too deep, I guess they could actually sink into the crushing depths. But I don't know. That may be just like a particular breed of shark, or could be all sharks. I'm not sure. But yeah, from what I understand, sharks are just like vicious a lot of the time. But it depends on which breed of shark you're talking about. Like bull sharks, great whites, and I think tiger sharks and hammer sharks are like pretty vicious. Was it tiger sharks? I think so. But like whale sharks are pretty docile. Like they're not like vicious killing machines. Like whale sharks, I think, mostly feed on like small aquatic life forms and such. But anyway, yeah. I heard the dolphin noises and was like, oh no, when I found that was an orca. Well, and I stayed clear because I was only a teen shark when I wandered into that ocean. Yeah. those fucking orcas, they'll fucking fuck you up. They'll fuck you up if you're not like a full like adult shark. The sperm whales, like the sperm whales, like even though they're like pretty huge, they're pretty easy to handle. But those freaking orcas, they will tear you up. Oh, and those great whites too, like freaking, oh my god, such a hard time with like great whites and orcas. Oh man, forget about it. Anyway. I've been grinding the shark hunters. Oh, fucking. Those shark hunters are fucking relentless. Man. Oh, Mako sharks will fucking wreck your shit up too if you're not careful. Fucking those Mako sharks are fast. Anyway, how long have I been streaming? About an hour and a half. We'll call it good at the 2-hour mark. Check to see if my mom needs anything. Go next door. See if she requires any assistance. And then I'll probably head on down to the store. Pick me up some snacks. 'Cause it's fucking Friday, man. TJF, motherfuckers! Ugh! Bitch ass pussy clown dildos. Well, I'm not calling you guys that. Just calling the world that. 'Cause fuck the world, man. Fuck them up the fucking assholes, dude. Anyway. But now this guy has an electric field I can't seem to bypass. Oh, the electric fields, you have to find the generator and you have to grab something to tail whip at the electric electric field generator. Like the electric field generators, you can usually spot them. They're like the little like nodes that stick out from the bottom of the ship. Sometimes, depending on the size of the ship, it'll have 1, 2, or 3, I think, if I remember correctly. And you have to find something to either like one of their scuba divers or like a torpedo or like something big. You got to like grab it and then you have to tail whip it at the electric fields emitters. I have a pretty easy time with the hunters. I find that you have way better dodge mobility at the surface. I thought of that, but the lock on is garbage. Yeah, the targeting system is a little difficult. I had to switch between controller and keyboard and mouse. Like I think I found that in some cases, like using a controller is a lot easier than the keyboard and mouse. Even though like using a controller limits some of your abilities, like with the controller, I could only dodge left, or was it? Well, I could only dodge in one direction. With the keyboard and mouse, I could dodge in both directions. But using a controller was a lot easier, I find, with like in combat when you're fighting creatures or hunters or whatever. But in doing the time trial races, I had to go with the keyboard because when you jump out of the water, like the shark is a little easier to maneuver with the keyboard and mouse than the controller. And oh my god, like there were several times I fucking raged out. Like, fucking stupid motherfucking controller, goddamn son of a bitch. Oh man, yeah. Got so aggro at the game, I almost rage quit. I think I did quit in a huff, just like, fuck this game. But like would come close to just like fucking just rage quit. Oh fuck, quit in the rage, break my controller and keyboard. No, I'm not rich enough to rage quit. I'm not rich enough to like fucking put my fist through a monitor or anything. But anyway, I would quit in a huff, like just like fucking fuck this game. Oh yeah, there's time trials. There are some of them are easy, but some of them are a fucking bitch. Like the time trials, which require you to jump out of the water, are fucking pain because you have to swim through these circles. These like you have to swim through these rings and do it in like a set amount of time. But then some of the rings are placed high above the water, and you have to like get your angle right, get your speed right to like fucking jump out of the water and jump through the ring. But then when you're out of the water, like depending on like what controls you're using, like it sometimes it'll tilt you too far back or too far forward, and it just becomes like a fucking pain. Some of those time trials are just like fucking frustrating. Oh. Melody says the DLC is the tits as well. Did I get the DLC? I don't remember. I remember I beat the game and I figured like, okay, I'm done. That's good. I imagine if I revisited the game, it would still freak me out just as bad as the first time because it's been too long since I played it. Melody says yes. Okay, I got the DLC. Oh, sweet. Oh yeah, that's right. The post story DLC. Yeah, I got that. When you start getting radioactive powers. Yes, I was a beast. I was a monster. Tearing up the ocean as the most vicious shark that ever lived. Come on, I'm right here. Come kill me. I'm right here. Come do it. Come on. I'm right here. Come kill me. Come on. Sorry. Sometimes I break into my Arnold Schwarzenegger impression. I like the surface dodge of the tiger body though. Oh, I can't remember all the friggin' powers that you get. There are like so many games that I've purchased that I haven't given myself the chance to play because I'm so busy with everything. Mostly like the obligations I have in and around like our little family compound. I call it the compound, but it just consists of the main house, my cabin, and the horse corral. Like I gotta feed the dogs, horses, go over and help my disabled mother with whatever she needs. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, I've been so fucking busy with all that and schooling on top of that. It's just like, oh man, just fucking get the semester over with, man. Be more free to fucking do art shit and do gaming shit. It's been a while since I've done a gaming stream too. Maybe I should jump on that this weekend. Huh? Do some games? Play some video games? Sounds like it'd be pretty fun. Oh, yuck. 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 Sorry. Stop breaking out the voices, man. What does Melody want to see me play if I do decide to play video games this weekend? What are your thoughts, love? Darling honey kitty love fluff. I'll have to go over there. Go over where? To the radioactive area? Oh! I remember there was a radioactive area in the bay. Oh shit, that's where I fought the Barracuda. Fucking that Barracuda boss was like fucking. That Barracuda boss was like fucking vicious, dude. Like I lucked out fighting that Barracuda boss. Like I think I ran into some glitch which caused the Barracuda to like be less accurate, and it somehow got stuck. Like it couldn't track me anymore. I don't know what glitch I ran into, but like the Barracuda couldn't track me anymore, and I just fucking kept coming up behind it to attack it. But that was like I think that was my second go around. The first go around, like fucking that thing was relentless. I couldn't get away for shit, and that thing is fucking fast. No one Anon says, my hobby is being a blackjack, craps, and Texas Hold'em poker dealer. That's not a hobby, that's a job. my vocabulary has definitely suffered because of liberal need of regional colloquialisms, such as homie or G-dog, but I do enjoy my work for the most part. Yeah. It's been a while since I've like worked on my vocabulary. I'd like to get back to it, but I got just like too many things to just juggle at the moment. But once my schooling is done, I would like to get back into working on my vocabulary. I had this idea like a long while ago about doing like short animations, kind of like an animated word of the day type of thing, to not only expand my vocabulary and knowledge of the English lexicon, but to assist others in their endeavors to make their personal vocabulary a bit more robust. Because I think like a lot of like, well, I believe a lot of aggression and turmoil comes from people unable to convey their frustrations and feelings through their words. Because if they were able to convey like what they feel, I think a lot of people would be better off. Because when you can't elaborate on what it is that's bothering you, you tend to get like a lot of pent up stress. And just because like people can't articulate what they need in words, they tend to lash out through violence. But yeah, like I think everyone would benefit from just expanding their vocabulary. They're expanding their vocabulary. Yes, PBS PBS vibes. I'll be like a fucking, what's the Carl Sagan Bob Ross, where I'm just like doing like drawing pictures or whatever, but at the same time just like teaching people like complex words and their meanings and such. Oh man, that'd be so fucking boring. But that was an idea I had like a while back, of just like doing like an animated version of like a kind of like a word a day calendar type deal. Animating it, but like also putting like a funny comedic twist on learning a word. Metal reading rainbow. Oh shit. That reminds me, I wanted to do like this is back when I wanted to learn how to like learn how to play the guitar and drums and whatever. I still do, but this is like way back when like I was like either 18, like somewhere in my 20s. I was like fucking, oh, we should like put a band together and like make metal versions of nursery crimes, and then we'd call our album like Metal Goose, like kind of like Mother Goose, but it would be Metal Goose Nursery Crimes, you know? That's neck might be a little too long. Oh, loves you too, honey kitty. Oh wait, you're loving the drawing. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, love. Glad you likes. Glad you likes me. What originally compelled you to delve into tech and its various nuances? Um, well, part of the reason is that since moving back out here to the res, like um getting jobs in like the graphic design or animation industry, of which I used to be a part of, was like very few and far in between. And looking for remote positions may have seemed promising, but I kept getting turned down one after another. So I decided, like, hey, like, why don't I expand my repertoire and go back to school and learn how to design and build websites, or learn how to do like computer programming so I can make my own like little video games. So I went to back to college for like a certificate program in computer tech in order to learn how to code video games or do websites. And I'm learning both at the same time. But in order to complete my course, I got to do networking as well. And networking is kicking my ass because I have no interest in it whatsoever. But yeah, like going back to school has been pretty tough because it's been so long since I've been in that sort of like learning environment that I had to get reacclimated to like learning how to like study and reading from books and such. And in my first semester, I was just getting all of my prerequisites like out of the way. I did English, and since I'm doing like these course studies at like a Navajo college, I have to learn Navajo, and I did Algebra 101, and there was another course in there. I think it was which computer course was it? I think it was like a basic like C++. And C++ was like pretty fun, but as far as the language courses and the math went, like, oh my god, just fucking kicked my ass. And like halfway through the semester in my English course, I glossed over it. I didn't think too much of it, but then it took me a while to like realize like, oh shit, we were supposed to be like fucking doing this fucking research paper this whole time in order to like fucking present it during finals. I had to get my ass in gear for that, and oh my god, like the first semester kicked my ass. But yeah, this was like all in the pursuit to just uh just to span out like my capabilities, not just in arts and animation and graphics, but also in like some sort of computer knowledge and learning, just so I can apply that in my own personal field to like either build my own websites or make my own video games, or to maybe in a further extent to see if like any other companies will hire me for web design or computer programming. But for the most part, I am just doing it as a personal pursuit to just make myself more well-rounded as a designer. Because like one of my fascinations from back then and even leading on to now is just like, you know what, I'd like to design my own video game. And I got like a little snippet of that when I got to work on the downloadable 2D fighter, Skullgirls. I got to animate like a few move sets for the characters Misfortune and Parasol, and that was pretty fun and interesting. And I would like to create my own fighting game someday, but I need to get like some basic groundwork in learning how to code and such. And to do that, like I'm trying to get a good grasp on C++, and I want to venture into other things such as like Python and other platforms in which they use to design games. But I would like to get like a solid foundation and understanding of C++ before venturing out into other things. And I'm also like collecting like other like knowledgeable websites that teach you how to code, and getting like downloadable PDFs on stuff that pertains to that. But yeah, like all in all, it's like in a pursuit to just expand my skill set in order to be more self-sufficient, because getting turned down by companies left and right is just so disheartening. But in order to overcome that, I have to just gain more knowledge in order to one, be more self-sufficient, like I said, and two, just like make these companies, like force them to see me like, look, this is me, this is what I'm capable of, this is what I can bring to the table, I can do this, that, and the other. What the fuck do you need, man? Just fucking give me a job. Just fucking so I can just fucking kick down that door, whip my dick, and slap it on the table and say, hire me. No, not in the literal sense, but anyway. Yeah, that's about it. Let's see. Dasco Draws is here. What's up, Dasco? Says, sorry, it's taking me a while to wake up. Ask chatbot about networking. Oh, I probably should. But like a lot of the quizzes I'm taking for networking are all open book. So I'm doing that. But like sometimes that's not the issue I'm having. Dasco, you weren't here earlier for this, but I explained that some of the quizzes are just so finicky and petty. It's just fucking bullshit. Because for this one quiz, like they give you like a little review and you take notes for this review, and just like fucking I'm doing it as I'm told. And like the way I take notes is I just take screenshots of what to review. So I took the screenshots and like those are my notes. And now it's time to take the test. So I'm taking the test and I come down to this question. It's like, okay, for this example, how many ports were open? So I look back at my screenshot notes. I look back and it's like, I'm looking through, it's like, okay, like it says the ports that were open are 0. Like there are 0 ports open in this examples. So I go back to the question, I put the number 0 in, the numeric value of 0. I put that in, I hit enter, and like I finish the quiz, and I get like a 60 or 70%, and I'm like, fucking why? What the fuck? And I look back at one of the questions, and like one of the questions I got wrong was that one where I put 0. It's like, oh, your answer of 0 was wrong. The correct answer was none. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Aren't 0 and none interchangeable? Like, Jesus fucking crunch cereal, dude. I look back at the question, I examine the notes, I was like, okay, the question was asking me like how many ports were open. Look back at the screenshot notes. It says 0. I put 0 in, but no, that's not the right answer. The right answer was none. Like, fucking, this quiz can just fucking eat my ass, dude. Suck my dick. Fuck you, stupid fucking finicky, petty, dumbass question. But yeah, you would think those two things would be interchangeable. I typed down what the example put, and that's 0. So I put the numerical value of 0 down, which is just the number 0. But no, that's not the answer it wanted. It wanted the answer none. None. No, I'm sorry, sir. In this test, in this quiz that you're taking, the value of none and the value of 0 are not equitable. They don't equate. They're not the same. You should have typed none instead of typing 0. Ah, so frustrating. But yeah, some of the issues I'm having is that I'll put the correct answer, but it wanted the answer in it like a, oh, I'm sorry, sir, we wanted the answer in the form of a question. Like, no, you can't do that to me. But at least for some of the multiple answer questions, like multiple choice where it says like check all that apply, at least I get partial credit for that. When I was doing some of those questions for like math, let's say, when like a math question had like 5 parts to it, and you only got like 3 out of those 5 parts correct, you would still be wrong for that whole thing. You wouldn't be partially correct, you would just be all wrong. And the frustrating thing about those math quizzes is that, like, yeah, you might have like just 20 questions in a quiz. It's like, oh, 20 questions, like I'll be able to bang this out in like a few minutes. When you have like a limit of 1 hour to complete the quiz, oh no, like once you start getting into it, some of these 20 questions you got have 5 parts to it. And you have to get all those 5 parts correct. Otherwise, you get the one question wrong. And what sucked about it is like 10 or 15 out of those 20 questions had 5 parts to it. So you would fucking run through a whole hour and not get, you wouldn't be able to fucking finish that quiz. Oh, that was just so fucking frustrating. Anyway, I'm rambling again. Concept Simon says, I want to make a fighting game as well. Yes, fighting games are tits, especially when they're fighting games about tits. I want to make a T&A fighting game. No one anon says Zwets Project, but game Gemma chat mine. Oh. Svas Project Gut Gamak Mein Fund. I don't know what that means. Swash Project Gut Gamak Mein Friend. Apparently networking is especially important in fighting games, but the guy that made Skullgirls has spoken out about that in several interviews. Oh. Lag and ping are a nightmare load balancing shutters. Huh. I forgot the name of it, but apparently he used some of custom-made framework for fighting games. Huh. Yeah, like maybe I should download like the Mugen 2D fighting software. Check that out, maybe. I don't know. Concept Sound says dead or alive, lol. Melody says no one ever makes a really difficult fighting game anymore like Bushido Blade. Oh, fucking, I remember Bushido Blade back in the day. You didn't really get much of a life bar. It's like you either got wounded or you fucking got killed outright. Oh, fucking, there is a game like that came out recently. It's called, oh shit, what was it called? Something court. Shit, let me look it up. Hellish Court. That's what it is. Melody already found it. Yes, Hellish Court. It's much like that, where it's like either your sword strikes are minimal or they're lethal, depending on where they land. It's not based on like light, mid, or fierce punches, or like whittling down like a health bar. If your first strike is lethal, then that's it. Your opponent is dead. But it looks pretty interesting, and it looks like it's come like a long way from like the I guess test footage I saw like several months back. Like several months back is the first time I saw it, and it looked pretty interesting, but it looked like it was a little buggy. But from the recent footage I've seen and the developments they've made, it's starting to look pretty solid. Like it looks very solid, really. But yeah, like Bushido Blade was like it was pretty cool. Like back in like the PlayStation, was it PS1 or PS2? No, I think it was PS1. PS1 era. Oh my god. But yeah, this is like pretty snazzy. No one Anon says bilingual. Well done, my friend. Oh. uh Dankeschön. Dankeschön. I can't remember how to say it. I'll just say donkey stain. Some user says only thing I know about Dead or Alive is that they change money every time you change hair. Oh fuck yeah, those microtransactions. Yeah, fuck microtransaction games, man. Concept Simon says I do recall seeing a game with that concept. Yes, like way back in the day, there was like a game called Bushido Blade. Dasco says, "Man, is it cold?" But right. I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know what part of America you're in, but if you're in like the northeastern state, like I hear there's like another, like a blizzard system blowing through, like like against like the northern part of America. Yeah. Oh yeah. Fuck. Feel sorry for you, man. Ugh. The weather's been off lately. Like I've been checking like weather updates for my local region, and they've been pretty solid up until a few days ago. Like a couple of days ago, like it said like, okay, due to have just cloudy weather, cloudy weather, that's it. But then those clouds look pretty threatening, so like I battened down the hatches. Well, meaning like I went ahead and went down to the hay pen where we keep the hay for the horses, and I made sure it was covered. You know, like don't want the hay to get moisture or whatever. So I did that, and thankfully I did, because like fucking all this snow started coming out of nowhere. And I keep checking the weather report for my local area, and usually it's fairly accurate, but fucking nothing about snow, and we keep getting bombarded with all these like out of nowhere snow flurries. Where the fuck is all this snow coming from? Anyway. No one, says you had said you were learning a Native American language. I said bilingual. Well done, my friend. I'm German. Oh, cool. Guten Tag. Honestly, I wish you could explore on land of these maps, and man, it looks so nice, right? No one says gern geschehen. Gern geschehen. You're welcome. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that correctly. I gotta delve back into my German. I want to learn German someday. Germanese. Guten Tag, mein Fräulein. Das ist wunderbar. I don't I don't know much German beyond that. I sprechen a little bit of the Deutsch. No one Anon says Las Vegas area has a blizzard warning. Well, it's a good thing I'm not in Las Vegas anymore. Oh, fucking hell. During like a freaking big windstorm in Las Vegas, a tree almost fell on top of me. It was fucking crazy. Like the windstorms for some reason get pretty nuts over there. Well, I guess like when you think about it, Las Vegas is in a valley. Like you got mountains to the west, the north, and the east, not so much. You do have some mountains to the south. So I guess the wind would like fucking wrap around those mountains and cut straight through the valley. But yeah, I never thought the winds would be so vicious as to like fucking topple a tree almost right on top of me. Fucking crazy. No one, says, I'm not a woman, lol. Yeah, I know. I'm just like saying like some of the German that I do know, but that's about it. What's the one for male? Was it like Guten Tag, mein Herr? Mein Herr? Guten Tag, mein Herr. Mein Herr? Mein Herr? I can't remember. I can't remember. I just remember Guten Tag, mein Fräulein. Guten Tag, mein Fräulein. Guten Tag, mein Herr. Oh, there's also Guten Nacht. Guten Nacht. Dasco just says, when I finally came home after being away for 7 hours, I almost quit. I almost got squashed by an oak in our backyard. Fucking an oak? Good God. An oak tipped over. Jeez, how bad was that wind? Somebody just says, I know a German pickup line, Fiki Fiki, or something like that. Came 4 feet shy of the house was a tall tree. Oh, god damn. Well, thank goodness for that, like that it missed. Yeah, I think the tree that fell over when I was in Vegas missed me by 4 feet. And I guess I'm like pretty lucky because I'm lucky that the tree decided to like fall like at an angle that was like 4 feet away from me. Because if it fell a bit more toward me, it would have hit me fucking for sure. Because I didn't react until I heard the thump sound. I heard the creaking. Like I heard like the sharp creaking, some snapping, and then a big thump. And I didn't react until after the thump. But when I looked behind me, like the tree was like lying flat right there across the sidewalk from which I just walked. Like, holy shit, dude. Like, if I was standing right there, I would have got hit. Would have been seriously injured. That thing was heavy. Unprovoked Oak wanted to smoke this bloke. Notice says oaks are known to attack at the blink of an eye. Yes. Wild Oak used stomp. Or Wild Oak used tackle. It was super effective. Okay, let me get some more shots. Oh shit, I didn't realize it was so late. Okay, let me just rough out a little bit of this background. I've never been attacked by a tree, but I did walk past a skyscraper with a broken window once. Pieces of glass came falling down. Thankfully, I didn't get hit. Oh, crazy. You almost sliced to ribbons. Worst thing I have been attacked by was a truck full of onions that tipped right over in front of me. Holy shit. All I could think was, you inconsiderate bastard, now I have to walk around you. Yes, Melody was almost run afoul by an onion truck coon. Truck coon, no! Not my Melody. Well, thank goodness that all those near misses were just near misses. Shrek on his way home. Okay, that meme I haven't seen. Is it akin to the truck coon meme? I meant like Shrek is obsessed with onions. Oh, okay, I get it. OP protagonist incoming. Whoops. I'll just put a lot. This is going to be a bookshelf. There we go. Keyboard, mouse. Make that keyboard look a little more like a keyboard. so I can tell what it is once I revisit this thing later. Probably come back to it later today. Make me wonder if isekai writers keep using trucks for their gag or if they legitimately think it's a good way to kill someone. Right? It's like every isekai I think I've seen, like the character is ejected into the next world from like a fucking truck. Why not like a lightning strike or or a tree? uh, no, a potted plant falling out of a window. So that way, there could be a truck coon, a tree coon, and potted plant coon. Or stray baseball coon. Man, what else could it be? Maybe for absurdity's sake, like petrified bird coon. Anyway, well, I roughed in the background. I got the foreground character looking pretty snazzy. The composition is more or less there. Just gotta start refining those details and then get into inking and whatever. But yeah, I think we come a long way on this piece today. So I think I'll call it for now. I'm gonna go handle some business. Well, for right now, probably take a break, have some lunch, feed the dogs, see if my mom needs any help with anything. Concept 7 says, just showed this great whites what's good. Ah, yeah. Fucking those great whites could be pretty vicious, but like it's the makos. Those mako sharks will fucking tear you up. No, those fucking mako sharks are fast. Anyway. Oh. All right. Well, it was a pretty good stream. A lot of interaction. Don't forget his tail. All right. Damn it. Let me plop that in real quick. The tail will go between the seat and it'll peek out from the hair here. Or should I have it coming down this way? Maybe I should bring it up a bit more. Well, we'll figure it out later. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. Thanks to all those who participated in chat. It's always awesome interacting with all of you. As always, my lovely moderator Melody. Iso Macintosh is here. Some user is also here. No one Anon, who I believe is new to the chat, popped in. Thanks for coming. Concept Sama is here. He's playing some cool video game called Manhunter. I highly recommend it and highly discourage it for those who have the same phobias as I do of sharks and deep murky waters. But I in any case, still got to give it a shot. And Dasco Draws is here. Awesome. So yeah, thanks for dropping by. Thanks for keeping me company. And big shout outs and props go to Melody for dropping me some money. It's always awesome. And if there are any people or any lurkers out there who are watching or maybe watching later, if you want to donate, feel free to do so. The link is in my description section below. It'll take you to my coffee page, and you can donate any dollar amount. Any amount would be much appreciated. If you do, that'd be awesome. If you don't, that's cool too. But yeah, thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that cool stuff. And until next time, I guess this is it. Till next time, this has been Johnston Blackhorse, the one and only, and I shall check y'all later. Sweet. Bye.